The world had ended quietly, then violently. Civilization collapsed under the relentless attack of vampires, creatures that hunted humans without mercy. Cities burned, highways were abandoned, and the few remaining pockets of humanity struggled to survive in a land overrun by darkness. Fear became constant, and every shadow seemed alive. The old rules no longer applied. Among the survivors was a young boy named Martin. He had grown up in this world, witnessing death and horror before he had truly understood life. His parents had been killed by vampires, leaving him alone to navigate the treacherous, ruined landscape. Hunger, cold, and terror shaped his every day, but he carried within him a spark of resilience, a stubborn refusal to give in to despair. One night, as Martin wandered through abandoned streets, he encountered a group of vampires attacking a small settlement. He froze, paralyzed by fear, until a man appeared seemingly out of nowhere. This was Mr., a stoic and skilled wanderer who had survived the apocalypse by mastering the art of vampire hunting. With calm precision, Mr. dispatched the attacking vampires, saving Martin from certain death. Mr. was a man hardened by loss and shaped by survival. He explained that vampires were organized, dangerous, and often clever. Some hunted in packs, some posed as humans, and some relied on manipulation to control human populations. Survival in this world required more than speed or strength, it required strategy, patience, and understanding the predators that now ruled the night. Martin, fascinated and terrified, insisted on accompanying Mr. Though hesitant at first, Mr. recognized the boy's courage and the potential for him to learn. Together, they began traveling south, following rumors of a sanctuary, a place free from vampire domination where humans could live in safety. The journey was perilous. Every abandoned town, every stretch of highway, held new threats: vampires, desperate humans, and the un. As Martin, Mr., and Lucy traveled further south, the dangers of the vampire-ridden world became even more apparent. The vampires were not mindless predators, they had learned to coordinate, hunt in packs, and sometimes even mimic human behavior to trap unsuspecting travelers. Every abandoned town and highway stretch carried hidden threats, forcing the trio to move cautiously and silently. Mr. taught Martin to anticipate danger, to read subtle signs of vampire activity, and to strike only when necessary. One evening, they stumbled upon a small group of survivors who had aligned themselves with vampires for protection. These humans offered food and shelter in exchange for loyalty, but the cost was horrifying: they had to sacrifice other humans to survive. Mr. observed them warily and warned Martin that moral compromises in this world were dangerous. Humans, he said, could be as monstrous as vampires when survival outweighed conscience. Martin began to understand that the apocalypse had not only destroyed cities but also the ethical rules that once guided humanity. The journey was grueling. Nights were spent hiding in barns, churches, or abandoned homes, while days were used to scavenge for food and water. Hunger and fatigue were constant companions, and every encounter with a vampire tested their skills and courage. Yet, Martin was learning. He began to fight with precision, think strategically, and move silently. Mr.'s mentorship was shaping him into more than just a survivor; he was becoming a capable young warrior, able to protect himself and others. One night, they were ambushed by a vampire pack while crossing an empty bridge. The attack was swift and brutal. Mr. fought with unmatched skill, using stakes, knives, and firearms with deadly efficiency. Martin joined the fight, his fear mingling with adrenaline, and together they managed to drive the vampires off. The encounter left them shaken but alive, a harsh lesson in the ever-present dangers of the. Eventually, Mr., Martin, and Lucy reached the outskirts of the rumored sanctuary, a small, fortified town said to be free from vampire domination. At first, the town appeared quiet, almost deceptively normal. Its gates were reinforced with wood and metal, and watchful guards patrolled the perimeter. Life seemed possible here, a stark contrast to the constant terror they had faced on the road. Inside the walls, the survivors were cautious and suspicious. They had seen countless travelers arrive, some seeking safety, others bringing danger in their wake. Mr. and his companions were observed carefully, tested for skills, trustworthiness, and intentions. It was clear that even in a safe place, survival demanded vigilance. Martin noticed how different this town was. Humans had learned to rely on strategy, intelligence, and cooperation, rather than simple luck or force. The temporary respite allowed Mr. and Martin to reflect on their journey. Martin realized how much he had changed. No longer the frightened boy who had wandered alone, he had become a capable fighter, skilled in observation, combat, and strategy. More importantly, he had learned the ethical complexity of survival. Sometimes mercy was necessary, and sometimes action demanded hard choices. He had grown under Mr.'s guidance, shaped by danger, loss, and the constant presence of death. But peace was fragile. Rumors of a powerful vampire overlord reached the town. This creature was said to control vampire packs across vast territories, more intelligent and ruthless than any they had encountered. Mr. knew that the threat could not be ignored. If the overlord decided to attack, the sanctuary could be destroyed. Preparation became their priority. Mr. trained Martin and other willing survivors, teaching them strategies for combat, defenses, and how to read vampire behavior. Every drill, every patrol, every plan was a lesson in anticipation and endurance. Soon, the vampire overlord struck. The town sea. As Mr., Martin, and Lucy moved beyond the sanctuary, the world remained dark and dangerous, yet their understanding of survival had deepened. Martin had grown from a frightened boy into a capable young man, able to think strategically, fight effectively, and make difficult moral decisions. He understood that the apocalypse was more than a struggle against vampires, it was a test of human resilience, compassion, and adaptability. The trio continued their journey through desolate towns, empty highways, and forests where danger could strike from any shadow. They encountered other survivors, some desperate, some hopeful, and some morally compromised. Each encounter reinforced what Mr. had taught Martin: humanity could be both a source of hope and a source of danger. The world had changed, and the choices people made defined their survival as much as skill or strength. Even in a world dominated by monsters, moments of human kindness persisted. They witnessed small acts of bravery, generosity, and compassion, people protecting strangers, sharing food, or sacrificing comfort to help others. These acts reminded them why survival was meaningful. Lucy, in particular, symbolized hope and the continuity of innocence, despite the horrors surrounding them. Protecting her became a moral compass for both Mr. and Martin, showing that even in darkness, humanity could endure. Over time, they realized that true survival was not just about avoiding death, it was about teaching others, preparing the next generation, and fostering cooperation in a fractured world. Mr. took on the role of mentor, sharing his knowledge of vampire behavior, combat tactics, and the ethical considerations necessary in a lawless landscape. Martin, now fully trained, began to see himself as more than a student. He was a protector, a guide, and a symbol of hope for those who could not fend for themselves. The apocalypse had forced them to confront difficult truths. Vampires were relentless and cunning, bu.